It really is at the point where talking to women is a humiliation ritual. I just had an experience the other day that really made me realize just how bad things have gotten. So I'll get to that in a minute, but it really is, it's just bad out here. If you're really attractive, then you might have a different experience. But for most of us that are not an 8 out of 10 or better in terms of looks, whenever you try talking to a woman, not even trying to flirt with a woman, but just talking to her, like just making small talk or whatever, it's just embarrassing. It's not just that the woman herself might ridicule you or anything. That might happen. It's pretty common, especially if you're only average looking or worse. But other people will see you trying to talk to her, and especially other guys, even like other unattractive guys that are in the same damn boat I am, they'll look at you like, why are you talking to her? And you'll see them laughing at you like, maybe I'm just asking for directions or something. Why does everyone always have to assume if you're talking to any woman whatsoever, then that could only mean that you're trying to get at her? People act like if you even make eye contact with a woman, that must mean you're some kind of delusional, like, ha ha ha, look at this dumbass over here. He thinks he's on her level. Like, no, maybe I'm just trying to socialize. Or maybe I had a specific question that I could have asked anybody, but she was just the first person I came across. Even if I was trying to hit on a woman, why is that something to make fun of? You literally have to do that if you want to find a girlfriend. It's like people will mock you if you're single, and they'll mock you for being a virgin, but then you also get mocked and laughed at anytime you even try to speak to a woman. So what the fuck do you want? Half of the people on this planet are women. You should be able to talk to a woman politely and not get laughed at for it. And at this point, it's like, especially if you actually are trying to hit on a woman, then that's brave as hell. That takes courage to put yourself out there like that. So why are other men, and it is women doing it too, but when it's other men, like, why are y'all doing this? Can we not just support each other? Can we, I don't know, could we maybe try to lift each other up? It's the crabs in a bucket mentality, I swear, that's what it is. I can understand feeling jealousy when you see a guy spitting game at a pretty young thing and she's just eating it up, laughing, slapping him on the arm playfully. I get that. You see something like that and you might get jealous and maybe you lash out a little bit. Big deal. I get it. I can understand that. But when you see a ugly as shit, sub 5, tiny ass cranium having freaking, I look like I got a house elf skull on a bridge troll's body. So when you see me talking to a woman at the grocery store, just asking where the toothbrushes are, by the way, because she works there, not even trying to rizz her up or anything, just trying to find the damn toothbrushes, which you'd think might be near the soap and deodorant and everything else like that, but apparently not. You don't need to laugh at me just for asking a question. Even if she's way out of my league, I don't care. I'm not trying to get the Kroger checkout girl to come back to my goon cave so I can show her my collection of Final Fantasy VIII figurines before I bonk her brains out. I'm not stupid. I know that that's not going to happen. I would never even try that. I would never even dream to attempt something like that. She's an attractive young woman, and I am a middle-aged, bald, acorn head. I know my place, okay? I know where I belong. You don't have to try to put me in my place. I'm already there, and I've been there for a long time. So, I guess I already started getting into the story, so yeah, I guess I'll just go ahead and talk about that. This was a few weeks ago. I wasn't even going to bother talking about this because I had a lot of other more interesting things going on around the time it happened, but it still makes me mad to think about it, so I think it's worth talking about. I was at the grocery store just doing my regular grocery shopping, and I needed to get a toothbrush. I usually just buy toothbrushes online, but I accidentally dropped my toothbrush in the toilet that morning, so I figured, I'm getting groceries today anyways. I'll just grab a toothbrush while I'm there, and, simple as that, problem solved. So I usually would never ask someone at a store where something is. If I can't find something, usually I just leave and I buy it online. But in this case, I needed to get a toothbrush that day because, I wanted to brush my teeth that night and I didn't have any extra toothbrushes at my house. And if I bought a toothbrush online, I wouldn't get it in the same day. I might get it the next day if I'm lucky. But yeah, I wanted to brush my teeth that night before I went to bed. Believe it or not, I do take care of my dental hygiene. I have decent teeth and I want to keep it that way. So yeah, usually I would never ask a worker at the store where I could find something in the store. And I walked down every aisle. I even looked at the edges of every aisle. Because, sometimes they put random things on the edges, like the front or back parts of the aisle that's not actually in the aisle, if you know what I'm talking about. But I couldn't find the toothbrushes anywhere. They weren't with the soap. They were not in the pharmacy section. I did find toothpaste. That was exactly where I thought it would be. It was near all the other bathroom items. So you'd think that's where toothbrushes would be, toothpaste, toothbrushes, you think they'd be near each other in the store, but they weren't. And it's not like there was even an empty space where the toothbrushes should be. It seems to be that they just keep the toothbrushes in an absolutely insane location for some reason. They don't keep it near the toothpaste. I don't know why, but yeah, so I walked around all over the store for probably at least 10 minutes looking for the damn toothbrushes, and I just couldn't find them. So, as I was walking down the bathroom and soap and stuff aisle for like the third time, this worker started walking down the aisle, and she was attractive, I guess. She was probably above average for a grocery store worker. Maybe just about average if you rank her amongst all the rest of humankind. But I asked her if she knows where the toothbrushes are. And, well, first I was just like, excuse me. And I don't know if she didn't hear me or if she was just trying to ignore me, but she just walked right past me. So I said it again, a little bit louder, excuse me. And so then she turned around. And she didn't say anything. She just looked at me with her eyebrows kind of raised, which I took to mean she's basically asking me, what do you want? So I asked her, do you know where the toothbrushes are? And she gave me this look like she was really frustrated or something. I think actually she might have been really busy or something, or she felt like she was busy. I don't know. Maybe she just went on break or something. I guess that's a possibility too. But the way she responded was so rude that it really just didn't make sense. And it's nothing new to me. I get that sort of reaction from customer service chicks sometimes, but this was probably one of the worst I've experienced. So she took a couple seconds to respond, She looked like really frustrated, like it was taking her a couple seconds to process what I asked. So that's why I think maybe she was already stressed out and she was really busy or something. But that doesn't make it okay for her to respond in the way that she did. Okay, so she paused for a couple seconds and then she was like, I don't know, I'd have to go check in the system. So I said, okay, that's fine. Then this is the part I think she really took it too far. She was already being kind of rude, but when I said, okay, that's fine, she kind of paused again and she looked a little bit surprised that I said, that's fine. I guess she expected me to be like, oh no, don't worry about it. You don't have to go check just for me. Or I don't know. I don't know what her deal was. I mean, I think I do know. I think she thinks she's better than me, and she was probably offended that I even spoke to her in the first place. But yeah, so I told her, okay, that's fine. Then she paused for a second and she was like, okay, I'll have to go check in the back. Then, very sarcastically, she was like, need anything else while I'm back there? And I know you might think I'm misinterpreting this interaction, but I promise you, I'm not misinterpreting this. She said it in a very clearly sarcastic tone, as if I'm just being like so difficult by having her go to the back to check in the system. I don't know what that means. I guess they have a computer back there that she can check where things are located. And isn't it, I would think that this is kind of a routine thing, right? For a grocery store worker. People ask you where a certain item is. Like, is that not normal, you know? But she said, you know, she was very, very sarcastic about it. And I am not misreading that. I can tell when somebody's being very sarcastic on purpose. You know, it's not hard to, I'm not misinterpreting that. Okay, I promise you. Need anything else while I'm back there? Just, and by the way, I was going to save this for the big reveal, but I'll just go ahead and tell you. The toothbrushes, they weren't on the aisle with the toothpaste. They were not in the pharmacy section. They were on the drink aisle near all the carbonated waters and stuff. And there was a little section that had like protein bars and stuff like that. And right next to that, there was hairbrushes and toothbrushes. Okay, so I could understand why she might think I was being difficult inquiring about the whereabouts of the toothbrushes if the toothbrushes were in a normal spot like they are in every other grocery store on the planet. But they were on the fucking drink/protein bar aisle, apparently, on a special little shelf designated for brushes of all kinds. You know, you toothbrushes and hairbrushes. So no wonder I couldn't find them. I don't know. I don't know who designed that layout, but yeah. So she went to the back with all her attitude. She took it with her, walked to the back, and as she was walking away, there was two guys nearby, probably about college age, I think, about the same age as the worker. And I mean, you might think two guys shopping together for carbonated water, that seems kinda gay, but you know, live and let live. I think they were probably just roommates or something. But as this interaction was happening, I could hear these guys kinda snickering. And I glanced over in that direction as the girl was walking away, and both of these guys were looking right at me and quietly snickering. But as soon as I looked over, they both looked away immediately. So it was obvious that they were laughing at me. And perhaps the craziest part of this whole thing The girl never came back. Some older guy that I'm pretty sure is like a manager there, he came up to me instead and he told me where the toothbrushes were. So, I mean, maybe this chick had just gone on break or something. So that's why she was so mad that because I'm making her do more work. But that's not really an excuse to talk to me like that. And the two random dudes over there off to the side snickering, like, it's embarrassing. It's a humiliation ritual. Talking to women is a humiliation ritual. I'm pretty sure if I was a highly attractive guy and I asked this girl the same question, pretty sure she would have been a lot more friendly to me. I'm also pretty sure those two snickering dumbasses wouldn't have been snickering. They probably wouldn't have noticed anything happening at all. So that's why I say talking to women these days is a humiliation ritual. And that's not the only example I have. I see this every day of my life if I go outside, not just from my own interactions, but I see it happening with other guys that are trying to talk to women. And I see it happening online. I do think that this is a modern problem. I don't think it's always been this way. I think there did used to be a time where the average person had some level of basic humility. But women today, it's like, they act like, how dare this sub-5 plebeian speak in my presence? Who does he think he is? And guys are just simps. Crabs in a fucking bucket, just waiting on bated breath to laugh in your face as soon as you try to say literally anything to a woman. It's just absurd. That's the only word I can find to describe it. It is absurd. I feel like fucking Albert Camus is writing the story of my life because it really is absurd. And I know it's not just me. Other men are experiencing this too. Good luck trying to talk to a woman now without either getting laughed at or just in some way, shape, or form made to feel like you've done something wrong. I'm sure you've all seen comments online or maybe videos where women act like it's a crime or something for a man to approach them. They want you to feel humiliated. They say shit like, we just want to exist. Can a woman not just exist in public without being harassed? Meanwhile, their idea of harassment is a guy just trying to make small talk while they're both in the same line for, whatever people wait in line for. And I also don't really like when random people try to chat with me out in public either. So I can understand on some level, but I would never want someone to feel embarrassed or feel like they've done something wrong just because they asked me if I saw the game last night or, made some comment about the weather or something. That's not harassment. When people do that, even if it kind of bothers me, like in the sense that, I'm really socially anxious, so I don't really like when random people talk to me, but it's like, they're just trying to be nice. I recognize, okay, this old man is talking to me because he's trying to be nice. It's not harassment. And even if a guy really was trying to hit on a woman with the goal of bonking her, even if that's what he's doing, that's still not harassment. As long as, he's not harassing her, then it's not harassment. You're allowed to talk to people. You should be allowed to. Maybe I need to say you should be allowed to, because I don't know, the way things are going, that might change. The way it is these days, the man is the one that is expected to be the initiator in all romantic interactions. That's the role that we play. And it always has been. And nobody's even trying to change that. Like, you never hear feminists advocating for women to be the initiators. So, men have to approach women if they ever want to reproduce. Or even if they don't want to reproduce, but they just want to have someone to spend their time with, have a girlfriend. Men have to approach if they want that. And that is already nerve-wracking enough. It's not easy. It's not easy approaching women. It's tough. You risk facing rejection. It's not easy. It takes bravery. It takes courage. So that's already difficult enough. And women don't really understand that because they don't have to do that. They don't have to bear that burden, which would be fair enough because, men and women play different roles. That's fine. I have no problem with that. So that would be fair enough. But the problem is, a lot of women seem to equate a man trying to talk to them for any reason. They equate that with behavior like catcalling. So when they react in this overly aggressive, mannish, rude way, they feel completely justified in acting like that. Because in their mind, you are harassing them. You are disturbing their peace. You might as well be catcalling them because that's how they view it, no matter how polite you are. I think one thing that might be playing a role in all of this, historically, men were the initiators and women understood that in their role, they were the choosers, right? So men were the initiators, women were the choosers. Women would get approached by men, and then they could decide for any given man if they want to give him a shot. But the internet has screwed that up big time. Now women don't actually have to get approached by men in person in order to get propositioned by men. They just open up the app on their phone and they pick the man they want. So because they have unlimited options in their pocket, they don't want to be approached in person. They don't want any men to talk to them even. They have the luxury of choosing which men and at what time they want to talk to them or staple their documents or whatever. And it's at the point now that they're starting to think that that's the only acceptable way for a man to interact with them, through the app. They literally do get offended these days by a man just approaching them in person. Unless he's attractive, of course, because none of this applies to attractive men. Women don't have the same rules for attractive men and sub-8 men. They're like, women see us as different species, basically. I honestly would not be surprised with this gynocentric society we're living in if pretty soon the actual laws are going to be changed to reflect how women view these things. Pretty soon, it literally will be a misdemeanor to talk to a woman you don't know in a public space. And I'm not even exaggerating. I do really think that might happen. I think it probably will happen eventually. It's probably already illegal in the UK. The unreasonable cuckdom. That's what UK stands for, by the way. Now, for real, I've never been there. I don't know, but it seems like they're always at the vanguard of anti-male legalism or whatever. But I don't really know. The worst part about all this is I don't think this is ever going to go back to how it was. I don't think we're ever going back to things being regular. The cat's out of the bag on this one. People talk about culture war issues like it's a pendulum. It swings one way today, but just give it a few years and things will swing hard in the other direction. What dumbass thought of that bull crap? That is utter nonsense. Everything just gets more and more gynocentric, period. And I mean, generally speaking, politics and culture just go further to the left. If this shit is a pendulum, then I think it must be working on some otherworldly type of gravity that has nothing to do with our concept of gravity on Earth, because that shit only swings one way. It goes toward what women want. It's not a pendulum. It's a damn one-way train, and the conductor is asleep at the wheel. Probably because the conductor is some unqualified DEI floozy. I'm tired of this shit. I dropped my toothbrush in the toilet. Am I just supposed to not brush my teeth? She was acting like I was being unreasonable, like it was a stupid fucking question or something, but the fucking toothbrushes were next to LaCroix and protein bars. How would anyone ever find that? Then those random guys just snicker, snicker, he. How about next time, instead of snickering and looking away when I look over at you, bring that shit right up to my face like a goddamn man? What the fuck is this world? It's so absurd. I don't act like that. I don't snicker at a guy for asking a woman an innocent question. In fact, in this day and age, I know well enough that as a good rule of thumb, you should always just give the man the benefit of the doubt in whatever interaction you're witnessing. People talk about, believe all women, believe all women. How about you sunk my frickin' dink? How about that? Believe all women. Believe all women. If anything, I know to give men the benefit of the doubt. That is an actual heuristic that makes sense. But you know what? I do believe all women in a sense. I believe women's actions. I don't automatically believe what they say, but I sure as heck believe their actions. And they be acting flagrantly out here. Women out here these days act like it's 8 seconds left in the second half and they're in the Final Four and it's March Madness. Just flagrant with how they foul us. Hopefully that made sense. I don't really follow basketball. Whatever. I gotta go to bed. I am never going to ask a female worker anything ever again. I'm not, if I have the option of 2 checkout lines to go through, and one of them is, whatever, checkout lines hardly even exist anymore. You got to do that yourself. I hate this world. It is absurd. But I'm definitely never asking a female worker anything ever again. I'll just look for a male worker, or I'll just leave the store. Because I don't need this crap. I don't need it. I'm not going to do it. I'm done with this bull crap. It's a humiliation ritual. Men laugh at you. Women laugh at you. Everybody wants you to feel humiliated, embarrassed, and they feel justified in feeling that way. Just because you try to talk to a woman. It's not worth it. It's really not. Whatever.